When installing a hardwired solution, you require a control unit and a wall reader. In the box of the CU4200 control unit, you get full instructions on how to install the control unit, 3 pieces of cable to easily loop out inputs, 3 spacers for when mounting the control unit into a box, 4 metal oxide varistors, a full control unit, and a power supply, if ordered. In the box of the wall reader, you'll find 4 raw plugs, 4 Phillips screws for the mounting bracket, 4 gel connectors to extend the cable, 2 T10 security screws, 2 additional Phillips mounting screws, instructions how to install and wire the wall reader, the full wall reader with a 3-meter tail lead, the reader mounting bracket, the tools required are a Phillips screwdriver, a T10 screwdriver, and a terminal screw. The CU42 control unit can be purchased with a control unit housing. If you purchase it with a housing, you get additional parts. You get cable grommets, 3 pieces of cable to loop out inputs, 4 metal oxide varistors, 3 spacers for the control unit, 4 Phillips installation screws, 4 raw plugs, 3 T10 control unit mounting screws, the control unit, and a power supply. To begin the installation, you require all the parts, the control unit, the wall readers, and the mounting box. In this installation, we're installing 2 readers, a mullion reader and a normal Euro wall reader. The first thing you'll need to install is a wall reader. Use the instructions in the installation guide provided with the wall reader to prepare the wall for the installation. Once prepared, use the wall reader mounting bracket to ensure the holes are in the correct place. Ensure the cable root hole is big enough to accommodate the wall reader cable, to avoid any pinching or damage to the cable. Follow the same process for any additional wall readers. You can now install the first wall reader. Grab the mounting bracket and line this up with the holes you marked earlier on. Grab your Phillips installation screws and secure the bracket to the wall. Next, we're going to install the mullion reader. The mullion reader is all one unit and the cable is already attached. Ensure the cable is cut down to the right length if you need to shorten the cable. Do not cut the cable off completely. As you can see, it's molded to the reader and cannot be replaced. If you cut this off completely, you'll need to get a replacement reader. Feed the cable through the cable root hole, nice and neatly, avoiding any pinching or damage to the cable. Once the cable is neatly fed through and the wall reader is flush to the wall, you can then begin to secure it to the wall. Grab your Phillips installation screw and your Phillips screwdriver. Install this into the top and bottom holes of the mullion wall reader. The mullion reader should now be secure to the wall. Lastly, grab the reader cover and clip this into place to cover any screws. You can then install your next reader. We'll now install the Euro reader. If you need to cut the cable, ensure it's cut to the right length to make it easier to feed through the wall, and feed this through the cable root hole neatly. Push the wall reader flush to the bracket. You then need to slide it up to lock it into place. The wall reader should be secure. You can then grab your T10 security screws and install these into the bottom of the reader. With these installed, you shouldn't be able to slide the reader off the mounting bracket. As you can see, our installation is now prepared correctly for the control unit. We have pulled through both reader cables, and as this is a CU42 EO control unit, an Ethernet cable, and the power cable. The first thing you will need to do is install your control unit housing. As you can see, we've drilled a hole in the center of the housing, as this is where the cables will be coming through. There are also guides on the bottom and side of the housing, in which cables can be brought through to ensure a tidy installation. You will then need to prepare the wall for the housing. Feed the cable through the holes to ensure measurements are accurate. Offer the housing to the wall and mark out the 4 screw locations. Once marked out and prepared, you can use the Phillips installation screws and your Phillips screwdriver to secure the housing to the wall. Once installed, ensure the box is level and all your cables are pulled through neatly with no pinching. You can now install the control unit to the box. Grab your control unit and install this to the box with the T10 screws, 2 at the top, 1 at the bottom. The connections and default inputs on the controller available are a tamper micro switch which is connected to the tamper input, a clear button, An add-a-line jumper for when using CU4200 nodes, a 12V DC power input, a 12V DC 1A output. Note, if you're using this output, ensure the correct ampage is placed into the control unit. The bus 485 input for when connecting CU4200 nodes, a tamper input, input 1, which at default is door detection for access point 1, input 2 at default, which is request to exit for access point 1, input 3 at default is door detection for access point 2, and input 4 at default is request to exit for access point 2. Input 5 at default is office enabler for access point 1, and input 6 at default is office enabler for access point 2. You have a reader 1 input, which is default at access point 1 entry, and reader 2 at default is access point 2 exit. These can be reconfigured in the software. There's a PPD connection, relay 1, which is lock relay for access point 1, relay 2, which is tamper for access point 1, relay 3, which is lock relay for access point 2, and relay 4, which is tamper for access point 2. Default input and relay settings can be reconfigured in the ProAccess-based software, along with the reader inputs, which can determine if this is a 1 or a 2-door controller. Now the control unit has been installed, it's time to install your wall readers. First, you'll need to prepare the cable. Separate the ends of the cables so each individual cable can go into an input. The wall readers are installed in the reader 1 or reader 2 inputs of the control unit. Connect these to the termination block using a terminal screwdriver. B is green, yellow is A, black is minus, and red is positive. You can now install your power connections to the control unit. Ensure the positive and the ground connections are installed into the correct terminations. These are noted on the control unit. Also connect your Ethernet cable to the bottom of the control unit. Once the control unit is wired up safely, you can power the control unit. Note, you should also have your locking devices wired in at this point as well. You should see lights on the control unit to indicate power. It's always recommended to test that the wall readers are wired and connected correctly. To do this, ensure the tamper loop is red and open, and press the clear button once. If both wall readers are wired correctly, you should see 2 orange flashes. This indicates there's no cable faults or damage. Once you're happy the control unit's wired and installed correctly, you can fit the housing cover. The housing cover screws are already installed for you. You just need to place over the cover, grab your Phillips screwdriver, and secure them to the housing. Lastly, you'll need to test the wall readers. To do this, grab a construction card and present it to the wall reader. You should get a green light for valid access and hear the relays click. Do this for both readers. If the relays change state correctly and your locking device opens, you've wired the control unit and installed it correctly.